I want to welcome you to the Retro Rogues Live. Please pay attention to our warning graphic. It states that the Retro Rogues Live show is intended for an adult audience and not intended for children under the age of 13. Parental discretion is advised. Again, I want to welcome you to tonight's show. On tonight's show, we're going to be talking about the Batman. We're going to be talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi. And there's some musical chairs or some nonsense or something happening with the DC film slate. We'll be talking about that as well. That and so much more on tonight's episode of the Retro Rogues Live. My name is Dave Beatty. I'm one of your hosts. For nearly the last 30 years, I've been a professional illustrator and graphic designer. Worked on a lot of fun things that some people have heard of, such as Batman Incorporated, Justice League of America, and even Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. But enough about that. I'm going to welcome back, as always. This is my great co-host. This is Mr. Eric Alexander. Eric, please tell the folks who'll be watching or listening at home some of the fun things you have worked on as a creative professional.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Eric Alexander, also known as Bass God 14. That's Bass God 14, not Bass God. That's Bass God like a bass guitar. And I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Bad Bod Productions, which is a film production company located in Arizona. Currently, I'm one of the executive producers on a film called Staycation, which is going to be picking up filming in California in April.
Very cool. Very cool. We do have some people in the Rogues Gallery. Lots of people are saying hi.
So Jane's in the house. She says, hey, guys.
Hi, Mom.
Hollywood's also in the house. He says, hi, guys.
Hi, Hollywood.
Mott's is in the house. He's also saying hello.
Hey, David.
And Jackie, with an unusually early chat, says hi. Usually show
right.
seems
hi,
to pop in at the end or something like that. It's good to see you, Jackie, here at the beginning of the show. Just feels like every time she comments, it's almost like the show is almost over. But
towards
it's good to see
end.
you.
So it's nice to have you here at the beginning.
Hey, Motts has a comment here. He says, "Hey, where's Dave Beatty?"
Well, that's me. That's me, David. I know I look a little bit different. Lot going on. Lot of changes. Lot of things happening.
Of course, you weren't on the show last week, Dave. We had Batman here. We had Batman here last week. So
I was busy, and you said you had some co-hosts that were going to show up, and lo and behold, I saw Batman and Catwoman were on the show, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. So yeah.
So it was an interesting show. And yes, Mott says you have a nice shave there, Dave.
Oh,
nice shave.
Thank you. Oh.
And Jackie, to answer your question, no, I do want you to stay.
No.
She says, want me to go and come back later? No, absolutely want you to stay. I think you come in a lot. You just don't say anything. I think that was the point that I'm trying to make is that a lot of times you don't really say anything until the end. So it's nice to have you here saying something at the beginning is actually my point. So
very nice. It's nice to have you here.
And Mott's has this crazy notion. He says Batman equals Dave. Interesting.
No,
interesting. I don't know where Mott's is getting that from. Not sure.
I don't know what makes you think that I'm Batman, because I'm not. I'm not Batman. I do a horrible Batman impersonation, as a matter of fact.
Well, Batman even told us a lot of the stuff about his alter ego was just nonsense. So I'm not sure where Mott's is getting that from.
There you go. There you go. Very cool. All right. So we are going to start off the show actually talking about the Batman. We'll keep it kind of spoiler free. This does feel like a little bit of a spoiler, but you'll have to watch the movie to know what I'm referencing. All right. So otherwise, it's not a spoiler at all.
Do I need to put the spoiler ticker up?
No, you don't. No one's going to get that unless you've actually watched the movie. All right. So
okay.
Anyhow, I have seen the Batman. I'm going to keep it spoiler free. I have seen pretty much anything Batman that's ever been made. I own I think every live action depiction or adaptation of Batman I own either on DVD or Blu-ray.
Does that include the serials?
That includes the serials as well.
Wow, that is hardcore.
Yep. I have read. I can't begin to tell you how many Batman stories. Most of my comic book collection is Batman. I have a Batman toaster. I have a Batman coffee mug. I have a Batman leather jacket. I've got a collection of, you've seen them before, like my Hot Toys Batman action figures. Like I am a diehard Batman fan, and I have actually worked on Batman for DC Comics on multiple occasions. That's a rare feat to be able to even say multiple occasions. But on multiple occasions, I have worked on Batman in both a solo and a team capacity. So I do consider myself a little bit of a Batman expert to an extent. I've done radio
Absolutely.
interviews talking about Batman. I am not Batman, but when I was younger, not now, but when I was younger, I did actually dress as Batman and actually do like the movie premieres and stuff a long time ago in a galaxy far away. I'm jumping ahead to something else we're going to talk about.
A little
So,
foreshadowing there.
yes. So
But
I do consider myself a little bit of a Batman expert.
and Mott's makes the great point, and you draw an awesome Batman, of course,
Oh, thank
absolutely,
you.
with the work that you've done. And I do want to build you up a little bit too, because this isn't a very unique perspective that you have here, because a lot of people that work professionally, they're not fans. I
That's
hate to
true.
tell you that. I actually say that a lot on this show. People don't get that. A lot of actors, a lot of professionals, artists, be whatever it is, they're not fans. They just aren't. But in the case, as Dave is talking, Dave has not only worked on Batman professionally at DC Comics, he is a super fan, a massive super fan. Absolutely. Jane even mentions, and she would know, she says
That's
Dave
right.
actually met Batman live at the age of 3.
Yeah, I met Adam West when I was 3 years old. I still have the autograph photo too.
Yeah,
Um,
so there you
so
go. So
so my opinion on this movie is I feel like educated. It's not uneducated. So um, to basically drive home a point, I want to see it again. I need to see it one more time. The best Batman movie ever made still is Batman Mask of the Phantasm. I'm going to stand next to that because I don't think anything's going to touch that. That is still probably the best Batman movie ever made. But I think my
that's
personal
interesting. That's what
favorite,
Batman said, Dave. That's what Batman said when he was on the air here last week.
he
That's what he
he
said.
should know. He should
He
know.
should know, right?
He should know what the best depiction of him is. Now, but I'm going to tell you this because I love the 89 Batman movie with Michael Keaton in it. It has a lot of inconsistencies compared to the comics. There's a lot of things in it I know a lot of fans and different people have taken issue with over the years. It was always my personal favorite Batman movie. It's not the best Batman movie. Mask of the Phantasm is the best Batman movie, but it is my personal favorite Batman movie. It is the one that I often will turn on and have on and watch. But if someone wants to see the best Batman movie, that's a different movie. However, I now feel like my favorite Batman movie is going to be the Batman. Um, I was,
Interesting.
I'll just tell you this right now. Batman has always had what I always refer to as his intimidation game, like the stuff that he does, and they bring a totally new wrinkle to the intimidation game for Batman that I had never seen before. It's never been something that's been done in the comics. It's the first time I've ever seen it in live action portrayed that way, and it absolutely amps the terror. And I was like going, wow, that's such a cool idea. And they keep bringing it up, which is why I know it was intentional because it's part of his intimidation game. Um, and along those same lines, Pattinson's Batman, I thought was pretty incredible. Now, I liked his Bruce Wayne. His Bruce Wayne needs some work, just because. Well, I can't. I'm going to leave it at that because if I say anything more, it'll get into spoilers. But I felt like that his Bruce Wayne needed some work. It's not a bad portrayal of Bruce Wayne, but his Batman is on point. The fight choreography was freaking amazing. It was grounded. It was real. It was very visceral. And the way that he used his technology was really great. Like, there was just so much about Batman in this movie that I loved. And it is a detective story. I've seen some people take issue with it, like different reviewers and stuff taking issue with the detective story. It didn't bother me that much. I just enjoyed it for what it was, because it's the first time they've really tried to give us a full detective story in a Batman movie. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. Some people complain that the film runs a little long.
That's what
I
I was going to
saw it.
ask you, because
Yeah, I
that's the
saw it.
biggest thing on my mind is that runtime.
I saw it at like 9 o'clock at night and didn't get out until like after midnight. And I was like, I was amped. Like it didn't feel long to me. But then again, I love Gotham City and I love that world, so it did not feel long to me at all. But I could see the criticism. There is possibly valid criticism depending upon your perspective, because all art is subjective, that they could have cut some stuff out. But I loved some of that atmospheric stuff that they did. It did not bug me at all. If you're a Batman fan, there are Easter eggs everywhere throughout this movie. You just have to pay attention. Some of them are obvious, some of them are subtle, but they're everywhere. I thought Jeffrey Wright was great as Commissioner Gordon. I never really found myself questioning him as Commissioner Gordon. His kind of his like interactions with Batman were so good that it just felt like Batman and Commissioner Gordon. I didn't really find myself questioning it at all, because he is a gentleman of color. And I'm not sure if that's the right way to say it. I'm not trying to be racist at all, but all I'm
I'm a
saying is
big
just
Commissioner Gordon fan myself. In fact, that's
sweet.
actually one of the reasons that I enjoy the animated series, and feel that that's sort of like my definitive Batman, even though that's not what I chose when I chose my favorite Batman. But I feel like that's my definitive Batman, and part of that is the portrayal of Gordon in the '90s TV series. It's just amazing to me. You get more of that sense of the partnership between Gordon and Batman, in the animated series, and I really like that, which is something they've kept with, in the movies that have come out
Right.
after that. That has kind of solidified, but it's always been there. Even if you go back to the Adam West version and things like that, obviously, Commissioner Gordon, was kind of more in the role of like always kind of asking for help and that kind of a thing,
Right.
but still, that there was that idea. Gosh, in the Adam West series, I think Batman was actually supposed to have been deputized. Like they went
Yeah, he
that
was
far, you know what I
deputized.
mean? That
He was,
in the
yeah,
Adam West
duly
version, he's supposed to
deputized
actually
agent of
be
the law.
an actual law enforcement officer, technically.
Right.
So it goes back. And then I make the point all the time, and I think the point has to be made, of all the supporting characters. As far as I know, Commissioner Gordon is the only one in the first appearance of Batman. In the very first
Yeah.
appearance of Batman, Commissioner Gordon is a character. He does appear, whereas everybody else comes later. A lot of people
Right.
don't realize, for instance, the whole thing with Alfred being sort of like a surrogate dad. That's a total, that's revision. Alfred actually originally came afterwards to help Batman. He
Yes,
did not
later.
raise him. I like that. I like that dynamic. I prefer it, but I'm just saying, originally that wasn't the case. Alfred actually just sort of popped up later. We do have a couple comments in the Rogues Gallery I just want to get to real quick. Tracy's in the house out there in YouTube land. Tracy,
Hi,
thank you
Tracy.
for joining the show. We really appreciate that. Mott's had a good question. So he said, "Who is your favorite Batman?" So are you going on record as saying that Patterson, the new Batman, is in fact your favorite Batman?
Pat, I need to see it one more time. If you'd asked me this a few more days, I would have immediately said I would have still been conflicted, because I really like Pattinson's Batman a lot. Um, Pattinson's Batman has the martial arts choreography and at times kind of we'll call it the technical skill, and at when necessary brutality of Christian Bale's Batman, which I love. And that's the one thing I felt like Keaton's Batman needed a little bit more of. I know they're limited by the suit, but and it's kind of weird, but the way Batman moves is very much a part of Batman, because it says a lot. What they do at the intimidation game, again, I've never seen that before. I've never heard anyone mention that before. It's such a subtle little thing, but it really adds a whole new dimension to the idea that this thing is coming, and there's like almost nothing you can do about it. Like I was just really impressed. So I really, really liked his version of Batman. Keaton is probably still going to be my favorite Batman right now, David Mott's. But it's weird because for the first time in a long time, if I was going to cosplay Batman again in a convention setting, I'm really thinking I want the Pattinson suit. Because I really, really liked what they did with Batman in this movie. I mean, I honestly, I was a little shocked, to be honest with you, that I liked it so much. I wasn't expecting to like it so much. And there are other aspects about this movie too I want to touch on real quick. Your best Commissioner Gordon, in my opinion, though,
Well,
Eric, to be honest,
before we move on,
okay,
Hollywood
go ahead.
Jackson mentioned Val Kilmer. I think we've discussed that Val Kilmer, we both agree, is like probably the most underrated Batman.
Yeah.
I actually quite
Kilmer.
like his Bruce, which is Dave's follow-up question, which is, who is your favorite Bruce? And I always think that that's an interesting dynamic to say, okay, well, this might be my favorite Batman, but who's my favorite Bruce Wayne? And it's like, for me, I think my favorite Batman is still probably going to be Christian Bale. And it probably is also my favorite Bruce. And that's probably the reason why, because I feel like he did such a good job on both sides of the coin. You know, I've mentioned that I do have some problems with Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne. I don't have a problem with his Batman, but I have problems with his Bruce Wayne. So it's like that's kind of what gives me the edge in that regard. Who's your favorite Bruce? Is it now Patterson or is it somebody else?
Well, my favorite Bruce Wayne is also my favorite Batman. That is going to be Michael Keaton. But for the record, I feel like that probably the best live action portrayal of Bruce Wayne is going to be Christian Bale, because he does the Playboy aspect, and we see him from the full cycle too. We see him as a young man, disillusioned with the system, trying to find a way, right, and deciding to become Batman. So we see the whole transition with Christian Bale, and the Christopher Nolan films are incredible. I'm not knocking those films at all. Those are some of the best Batman movies ever made, hands down. And they're incredible on so many different levels. But I still feel like Christian Bale is probably the best portrayal of Bruce Wayne in live action. That's just my humble opinion.
Hollywood says Val Kilmer was the best at both. So that's interesting.
There you go.
Again, I think we both think of him as underrated, but I don't think I would agree with him as being the best at either. Unfortunately, I would just say.
Well, and I love Batman Forever. Batman Forever is one of my favorite Batman movies. It is one of those movies that rivals the '89 movie until just recently. I still love Forever. My love for Batman Forever has not diminished, but this Batman movie they made is in my opinion something very special.
And of course, it wouldn't be our show if someone had mentioned. Mott says, of course, we need Picard as Batman, and Hollywood says Picard Man.
No,
for the win there. I did want to acknowledge that Maria's with us. So Maria with Tia and Telly.
Hi, Maria.
She says, hey, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining us on the show. And please comment. We're talking about the Batman. I'm not sure if you've seen it. We are keeping it spoiler free. Dave has actually seen the Batman. I have not. So we are keeping it spoiler free. So did you want to continue some of your thoughts on the Batman, Dave?
So I was going to say, I really like Jeffrey Wright's Commissioner Gordon. I do feel like your best Commissioner Gordon in live action is still Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman's Commissioner Gordon in the Christopher Nolan films is fantastic. I really, really loved his version of Commissioner Gordon. But Jeffrey Wright did a great job. And they have a great chemistry between the two of them, like that buddy cop thing between Batman and Commissioner Gordon, because Batman is very much working with Commissioner Gordon, not quite the police per se, but he is definitely working with Commissioner Gordon, which I thought was interesting. It's just but this movie borrows so many different elements. It borrows from Earth 1, it borrows from Year 2, it has shades of Year 1. It is definitely Batman's second year, though. Batman has been in operation for 2 years. To that, it's clear he's had run-ins with other people. We'll leave it at that. There are some surprises in the movie that are not in the trailers. the portrayal of the Riddler, which is in the trailers, that's not a spoiler. The portrayal of the Riddler is interesting. It's very different from what I was expecting. I did enjoy it. It's pretty creepy at times and actually disturbing, which I liked the villain having that level of, again, intimidation, on its own level. But the movie got
well, that's interesting to me because I've never thought of the Riddler as a particularly intimidating character.
They do a pretty good job with it. It kind of goes back and forth because it has shades of that over the top Frank Gorshin thing, and that's what's interesting about this movie because it really salutes so many different interpretations of Batman, and they do it incredibly well. But the Riddler has a manic side that's not quite at the level of Frank Gorshin's Riddler, but it's pretty damn close. Which I liked because it felt like they were nodding to things. They were being intentional. A couple other things real quick, and I'll tell you about this scene that absolutely blew me away. The portrayal of Catwoman in the film, I thought was really, really incredible. When we get the introduction of Catwoman, it was picture perfect. I mean, literally, it was picture perfect. I could not believe what I was seeing. It was absolutely, I thought it was perfect. The other thing that I was completely amazed by too is with Catwoman, they do I think it's Michael Giacchino does the score. He actually, in the score, I feel like is musically saluting Danny Elfman's Catwoman. Like the music for Catwoman was perfect because it had shades of Danny Elfman's from Returns. I was like, oh, that's so perfect. It's so perfect. I love that.
Interestingly enough, last week, we had Catwoman here on the show, and she was saying that Batman Returns was her favorite Batman movie, at least up to this point. Because I don't know if she's actually seen the Batman yet. So
we'd have to see if we can get her back on the show to find out. So two more quick things, and I'll be done. These are two of my favorite things from the movie. Like I said, Pattinson's Batman is incredible, but the two things that I absolutely cannot get out of my mind at all. Oh my gosh, Colin Farrell's Penguin. Holy freaking cow. You don't even realize it's Colin Farrell. Like he just looks perfect. They mix him with elements of Al Capone. It's freaking perfect, especially for that world they've created. Like I think, I'll just tell you right now, there is no portrayal of the Penguin. Like I feel like this is a definitive portrayal of the Penguin as I have ever seen. It is perfect. It nods to the era of the classic mob bosses and stuff. Like you got to, I mean, seriously, if you're on the fence with seeing this movie, you got to go see it just to see Colin Farrell's Penguin, because it is absolutely incredible. I am still completely floored. I feel like it is a reinvention of the Penguin to an extent, but it's also incredibly definitive. That I would put Colin Farrell's Penguin as a Batman Rogues Gallery member on the same shelf as Heath Ledger's Joker.
Okay.
Because they're that like slight reinvention, but almost like perfect at the same time. And then the thing that absolutely blew me away the most, that I also can't stop thinking about, by the time they get to the new Batmobile, I was pretty much on the edge of my seat because I knew it had to be coming up soon. The intensity of that whole scene until the car shows up. Holy cow. And then it's like a 1970s muscle car chase scene in the rain, and it was just, oh my gosh, it was incredible. I was completely floored by how impressed I was. I was almost jumping out of my seat. It was so much fun. That Batmobile scene.
I think you told me that's your favorite Batmobile now, right?
It is. I freaking love that Batmobile. It was so incredible. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. And I thought it was going to be fun because I love, classic era muscle cars and stuff, but it just reminded me, it reminded me of like things from Bullitt but at the same time, being a kid with my superpowers Batmobile and the stuff I would do with it as a kid when I was playing with it, and just the kind of just ridiculous nonsense I would do. I can't get into it too much because it would be spoilers, but I loved it. I completely loved it. They show you some of it in the trailer, and if you think it looks impressive in the trailer, wait until you see the whole thing, because I know they wanted Affleck's Batmobile scene and Batman v Superman to be this thing that people still talk about. No, no, I'm sorry. Batman's killing people left and right. It was really annoying to me, but man,
That's one of the things
oh
that I hate about Batfleck. That's one of the things that's just
yeah,
unforgivable to me. So
this Batman doesn't kill people every 5 minutes, and I just love the scene with the Batmobile. It was so good. It was so good. I friggin' loved it. I totally loved it. So I would recommend, if you're thinking about going seeing the Batman and you haven't seen it yet, I think it's totally worth seeing in the movie theater. Um, I was completely honestly, I was shocked at how much I liked it. I didn't think I was going to like it this much. I hoped I was going to like it. Um, but it's so well shot. There's great performances. The choreography with the martial arts is incredible. The stunts and everything are great. The scene with the Batmobile and Colin Farrell is worth the price of admission to me as a Batman fan alone. So I personally highly recommend the Batman. It's the most fun I've had in a movie theater in like a long, long time.
that's cool. Yeah, I still haven't seen it, as I mentioned. If any of you folks in the Rogues Gallery have seen it, please let us know what your thoughts are. If you're not planning on seeing it, I'd be curious what your thoughts are, like why maybe you don't want to see it, or what your thought process is. We do have some comments in the Rogues Gallery. Maria was mentioning that she does have a show tomorrow. We always do like to take care of our friends here on the show, so I am going to put her link for her YouTube up there, so that's not spam, folks. Please check her stuff out. I know she usually does her shows on Fridays. My partner, the great Robert McVeigh, the Chief
Hey, Robert.
Executive Officer, Bad Bob Productions. He says, "Come on and spoil us, please." Robert, unfortunately, this isn't a spoiler show, and I'm pretty sure, because we had the meeting yesterday with Robert. I don't think Robert's seen the movie yet, but I guess he still wants to be spoiled. Jane mentions, she says, the first Blu-ray I bought was Batman Begins, which I was mentioning that I am definitely a Christian Bale fan. That's probably what I think is probably the best Batman. And again, my reasoning being that I feel like he portrays both sides of the character so well, whereas so many other versions of the Batman, it's like one side is maybe lacking in my mind and the other side is stronger. So that's kind of why I pick them. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, okay. We got Gap. He's throwing the gauntlet now. And he says, and Gap, it's good to see you. He says, "What are you, crazy, Dave? Colin is nowhere near Heath Ledger caliber." So I think Gap saw the movie.
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you, Gap. I qualified that by saying, if you want to look at the Batman Rogues Gallery, like it's as definitive a portrayal of the Penguin as what I feel like Heath Ledger did with the Joker, because it is a slight reinvention.
You think Heath Ledger's Joker is like the definitive Joker? I'm curious.
For a lot of people, it is definitive. I'm just saying it is a definitive portrayal of the Joker, but it is a reinvention. Colin Farrell's Penguin is a slight reinvention, but I feel like it's also very definitive. I think it is a Batman Rogues Gallery portrayal that people will be talking about in basically for years to come. Gotcha. I feel like it's that strong. Is it actor caliber the same thing as Heath Ledger's Joker? No. But if you want to look at it as, like, let's talk about Catwoman, okay? Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman is a definitive portrayal of the Catwoman. Is it exactly the same Catwoman from the Batman comics? No. Is it a reinvention or a slight reinvention of Catwoman? Yes. But I feel like people have still been talking about Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman for years and years. And I'm on the record as saying that's the Crow. That's not Catwoman. So it's just the Crow with cats. So
I think one thing, you being, such a Batman expert, it does need to be pointed out. And I'm not as big of a a Batman comic book fan as you are. I do have a few books, and that's it. But most of what I get from Batman is from the cartoons and from the movies. So I want to throw that out there. But I do know enough about the history of Batman, and I did have the bundle that had like the first 5 or 6 issues of Batman, the very first appearances, Detective Comics, before there even was a Batman comic book. And the funny thing is, a lot of these characters, they have changed dramatically over time. I gave the example of Alfred. Like again, I think the way that they do Alfred now is much better as far as that surrogate father. It makes sense that he was around to sort of raise Bruce Wayne and that kind of stuff after his parents died. But that's not the way it started. Again, I point that out, that's not the way it started. He actually came later when Batman was already out there fighting crime, and he just kind of appears, to help him out, so it's the characters have changed a lot through the comics because the comics have been around for such a long time. That's my point,
Well, and all I'm saying is that, for example, like let's take Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze is one of my favorite Batman villains. Your definitive Mr. Freeze, in my mind, is Michael Ansara's portrayal, even though he's the voice actor from Batman the Animated Series. I still feel like that's the best version of Mr. Freeze that we've ever gotten.
That was like one of my honorable mentions. I actually had the Mr. Freeze movie, the animated Mr. Freeze movie, which is really really quite good, I think. So, and you said and Batman actually said he hadn't seen it. He actually had not seen that one. Sub-Zero.
I can't speak for the Dark Knight Detective, but I it's just when I start thinking in my mind about these like definitive or noteworthy portrayals of Batman villains, when we talk about the Rogues Gallery, I'm just saying I feel like Colin Farrell's Penguin goes on the same shelf as Heath Ledger's Joker, as Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, as Michael Ansara's Mr. Freeze, as, ready for this, Frank Gorshin's Riddler. Frank Gorshin's Riddler is still my favorite portrayal of the Riddler. This movie has not changed that one iota. So it's just
we have a apparently different opinion again. So Hollywood says Jim Carrey was the best Riddler.
I love Jim Carrey as the Riddler,
and I actually that's a tough one for me. That is a tough one for me. I like them both, and again, that's kind of that's kind of how the Riddler is to me. He's sort of a kind of whimsical. He's kind of weird, kind of crazy. That's why I thought it was interesting what you said about his portrayal on the Batman being, I guess, much more sinister and much more of a, I guess, a serious character, if you will.
Yeah, it's definitely it's very much a serial killer. You get that in the trailer. That's not really much of a spoiler. They pretty much hit you with that in the trailer pretty bluntly. But it just has shades. I felt like the actor had shades of Frank Gorshin's manic Riddler. And I like those little things, but like I said, honestly, I mean, I went into the film hoping to like it. I usually like Batman stuff anyway. I've pretty much seen everything Batman that's ever been made, or read it. But I was just surprised at how impressed I was with the movie. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did. And like I said, there are things that Pattinson's Batman does in reference to the intimidation game, and Matt Reeves' direction on this movie cannot be dismissed. I saw that Gap made a comment about they could have cut an hour out of the film. I did mention that Gap, that I could see that criticism, and that's probably a valid criticism. There are basically kind of almost chunks that they could have actually cut out of the film in order to cut down the runtime. But I'm that psychopathic Batman fan that's happy to sit through a 3-hour Batman movie as long as he's entertained. There. I just honestly, I'll tell you right now, Gap, I was impressed. I didn't think it was going to be that good. I walked out excited and had a lot of fun with it. I freaking love that Batmobile scene. There were a lot of surprises. I wasn't expecting to be surprised by the film. I didn't think there was that much new you could do with Batman. And they did something new with Batman I'd never thought of before. I was like, that's freaking genius. Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't somebody think about that up until now? Like, it's, it's Batman's intimidation game has always been kind of the same in the movies, and it came from the animated series, but they found a way to add something new. I'm always impressed when you add something new to something that's damn near 90 years old, that you think there's nothing new to bring to that portrayal, and then lo and behold, one little thing absolutely sets me on edge, because I'm like going, that's a great idea. Why hasn't anyone thought of that before? That's
Well,
clever.
it's good that they do that, because I think we were talking about last week. We were talking about, I think we're like on our 11th Batman movie. If and that's just like strictly speaking as far as theatrical releases. That doesn't even include like all the other animated films that have been made and never were actually put in the theater. So I mean, there's just so many different versions of Batman. Like I always say, there's a Batman for all seasons. No matter what kind of Batman fan you are, you can find something. Tracy mentions, he says, I am looking forward to seeing it. So there we go, about someone who hasn't seen it like myself and what they're thinking about it. And then Matt was in the house, and he said, great spoiler alert. Matt, we're not doing spoilers. We're keeping the spoiler free. So we don't, if you don't want to hear anything about the movie, I don't know what to tell you. So, but Matt, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. But yeah, we're keeping this no spoilers. I haven't seen the movie. Dave has, so he's just giving us sort of general impressions and things like that.
And everything that I am talking about are things that are in the trailer. I am not trust me. There is one thing in particular that happened in this movie I want to talk about so bad, but I can't, because it's a huge. Here's the thing: it's a huge spoiler. And then there's another thing I want to talk about really bad too, that really isn't a spoiler, but it sure took a lot of the commenters and movie reviewers on YouTube to notice it when I and Asia saw it right off the bat. We knew it immediately. We looked at each other as soon as he did it. We're like, oh, like we had the same reaction, and we both knew what it meant. And it's like, it took the reviewers on YouTube like well over almost like a week to get around to it. We saw it instantly. And I was just like, why is anyone talking about that? That's huge. That's amazing. I can't believe they did that, because it's so in world. That's the thing I loved about this movie. There's so many little nuanced things that are specific to the world and the legacy and the lore of Batman. And he has to do this thing. And when he does it, it's totally in world. It's totally in world. And I friggin' love that someone was smart enough to do that. And it's a little thing. It's a little thing. And I was like going, the little touches are nice. I appreciate it. And the design of the film is interesting because it has the grounded aspects of like Christopher Nolan's Batman movies, which I love. I love those movies. They're incredible. But then it also still has some really fantastical elements. There's some stuff in it that I'm like going, that's something like you would have seen in the Keaton movie going back to the 89 movie. But it still fits in a real world environment. And that's the thing I thought was neat.
That is neat. So there is a balance when it comes to Batman. Like I know Nolan specifically said he didn't feel like Christian Bale's Batman would actually fit in to like the wider DC world. Like that, he just was like, I don't think it would work. I think it could, but it is that point of him trying to make it more grounded, as you say, more quote unquote realistic. Even though, let's face it, Batman really isn't realistic. But trying that kind of a thing. Gap says, Dave, can you tell I like the movie? So a little sarcasm, I think, there, Gap. Gap, we've talked about the fact that we need to get you on the show at some point, and maybe after I've seen the Batman, we could actually have a roundtable discussion. Maybe we can even have somebody else, and we could have some different opposing views and stuff like that. I have no idea what I'm going to think about it, other than my concern about the length. That's the biggest concern that I have going.
Yeah, it is. It is a long movie. I could see where if you're kind of disconnected from the story, it would drag even more. Like I said, I was plugged in, so to me, it did not feel like it was running long. It does look like we've got like something happening there in the chat on the YouTube side.
Well, James is also in the house on the Facebook side, so I want to say hi to you. James is saying, "Hey guys." Hey,
Hey,
James, good to
James.
see you. And again, if you've seen the movie, you guys have any comments, please let us know. We are trying to keep it spoiler free because there are folks that have not seen it, such as myself, that have not watched it yet. Let's see here. I think a lot of people are just saying hi to each other.
I got it.
Oh, Maria, don't worry about that. Like I put she said, sorry, Hollywood, I want to plug my show on here. Please plug away, Maria. Absolutely, you can plug away your show. I did put a link in the chat for your channel. You're a friend of the show, and anybody who creates content is a friend of the show. We're more than happy to promote you. Of course, we expect the same if we ever come on your show. So it's just one of those things, right? Let's see. I think I got a little behind on this.
And here's something that we'll be getting into too, because here we have to remember we have to understand. I do believe that Pattinson's Batman is going to sit in its own lane. Okay. Because Maria makes an interesting comment here. She says, I'm kind of concerned with the change in formula of this new Batman to attract a different crowd of people. Well, what's interesting, Maria, for me as a longtime Batman fan, what's interesting for me is I do feel like Pattinson's Batman is going to be on its own track. And it's going to be sitting over here off to the side. If they make another one or another two or another three, those Pattinson movies are going to be kind of their own thing. Because the other thing that we're getting, and if you're paying attention to the nerd news, you know this is coming. Michael Keaton's Batman is going to return. And that's going to happen in the Flash movie. He is in the trailer. You can hear the classic 89 Batman music when he says, you can, go to any world. Why would you want to fight for this one? And then you see him in the bat suit as he's walking up the catwalk in the cave. So, and then my understanding is that Keaton's Batman will be the Batman moving forward for the larger DCU movies. And I think he is going to replace Affleck's Batman. And it's going to be the Flash is going to do something and change the universe. And Keaton's Batman is going to be here to stay. So those of us who love the Keaton Batman, those of us who love the more old school 90s, 80 Batman, we're going to get that too, which is one of the things I think is so exciting for me as a Batman fan is that, we get to see the return of a fan favorite Batman, but also get a new interpretation of Batman at the same time. The question we have to ask ourselves is there ever going to be a Batman movie where the two of them are going to have to interact? That would be interesting. I don't think that's a good idea, but it might be interesting to see.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to that idea of whether Christian Bale would fit into the DCEU, that sort of debate as well. Jane mentions Ronnie has seen it and would have some interesting opinions about the movie. He actually was on the show last week, at least in the comments, and he mentioned that he already was just doubling down that this is the best Batman ever. So yeah, it goes into what Gap is saying, and he says, yeah, let's have a Batman spoiler battle show. That would be great. That sounds good to me, and Ronnie probably would be good for that as well. I don't know what I'm going to think about it yet. So that's the only thing is, I could be totally on Dave's side and think it's the greatest thing ever. Or, I could be like you, Gap, and I could be sorely disappointed. I don't know. I won't know until I see it.
And I'll say too, you have to remember this film spoke to me. These are just my opinions. Because there are things about the movie where I could see it as not for everyone. You know what I mean? But that being said, there's so many fun, interesting portrayals and kind of cool things. If you are a Batman fan and you love the lore and the universe, I think you'll have a good time watching it. But the runtime is an issue. I mean, I will admit that if you're not really plugged into the story, you will feel those 3 hours.
Might be an issue of a weak bladder too. There's always that possibility as well. So, Hollywood had some interesting comments aside from the Batman, just Batman in general. And he says he was talking about Batman and Robin. He says not sure who was Robin. It worked though. That was
Chris
Christopher
O'Donnell.
O'Donnell, right? And
Yeah, Chris
I
O'Donnell.
thought he was okay. He was no Burt Ward in my mind. I do think Robin does not get enough love in the series. I've always thought, actually, since what was it called, the Kick-Ass, right? That movie where they had the character, I can't remember her name, but she's basically, her
Oh,
dad is
it's like
Batman
Hit
and
Girl.
she's Robin. You know what I mean? That it's like a
Yeah,
straight
Hit
total
Girl.
ripoff. But I was convinced after watching that you can absolutely make a really kick-ass Robin if you really wanted to. If you haven't seen Kick-Ass, just watch it just for that. If you haven't seen it, because I think that to me shows you that you absolutely could make Robin really cool even as a kid, because that's always a big thing too. Is like, even Stan used to make fun of it. Like, why would I want to? If I was a superhero, why would I want to hang out with a little teenager? It's like, I think it could totally work. So I do think Hollywood, I think you're trying to get to it too, is there isn't enough love for Robin out there, in my opinion. I kind of agree with you, and I'd love to see a really good portrayal. And then Hollywood even goes further and says, what about Batgirl, Alicia Silverstone? I had a real problem with that because of her origin, because she was related to Alfred instead of Commissioner
It
Gordon.
wasn't
You
Barbara
have any
Gordon.
thoughts on Batgirl? And obviously,
Okay,
Yvonne Craig, I think, did an awesome job as Batgirl. I think she's a definitive Batgirl
right.
as far as I'm concerned, not Alicia Silverstone.
Yeah, so far your definitive Batgirl, in my opinion, is actually going to be the one from Batman the Animated Series, and then but an honorable mention definitely has to go to Yvonne Craig. Yvonne Craig is, I think, the Batgirl most people would remember. But there is a new Batgirl movie that's actually in production. That's kind of what I was saying about, we now know that Michael Keaton's going to be around. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, just search for on-set photos of Batgirl and you'll see what I'm talking about. But one of the things is, and it's always this confusion, a lot of times people, and I'm not saying Hollywood's doing this, but a lot of times people confuse Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. I know for some people they consider them to be the same thing. I do
Yeah,
not. I do not. Okay, Batman and Robin for me, not good. Not good. Not good at all, for a lot of different reasons. The fact that Arnold couldn't just like act like the Terminator and kill that role still just floors me, because
yeah, that kills me, because I think
I just
I think he was perfect. He was perfectly
he
cast.
was he
If
was
he had
perfect.
just been the Terminator, that's all he
Yep,
really had to do.
that's
And
it. That's all he had to do. And instead he sing, everybody sing. No, nope, nope. Sorry, I can't. I can't even with that movie anymore. But Batman Forever, I quite love, because I feel like Batman Forever is a modern live action homage and send up of the 60s Batman television series, and Kilmer is trying to do a great Batman in the midst of it. So it's a little uneven in places, but I love that movie because I could see what a lot of people were trying to do in the movie, and I've always loved Batman Forever. Batman and Robin is a
but I
completely
think you
different
do agree
experience
with
for
me
me.
that the one huge unforgivable flaw of Batman Forever is that they recast Two-Face. That we did not get Billy D.
Yeah,
Williams as Two-Face, and
I would have preferred that.
Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face was horrible. I mean,
Yep.
and he's such a good actor. I'm just like, oh my gosh, why did you do that to him? Like, because if they had done the whole tragic, the backstory of Two-Face is horrendous. I mean, basically, this guy was Bruce Wayne's like best friend. He was the prosecuting attorney. He was the one out there trying to clean up Gotham, and they show that in the Keaton, the very first Keaton movie with Harvey Dent, that he's out there. He's supposed to be helping clean up the city, and showing that fall, of that character and what he becomes, really shows what a tragic character he is. But of course, they didn't do any of that. Instead, they recast him. We never got to see, Billy D. Williams as Two-Face. So I find that unforgivable. The only version we got to see of him as Two-Face was in the Lego movie, the Lego Batman. He finally got to play Two-Face in that one. So
Well, and in
honorable
the
mention there.
the Batman '89 comic they're doing right now that DC's publishing, they have it is the Billy D. Williams version of Harvey Dent who has uh, become Two-Face. Um, but
But I
here's
wanted
the
to see
thing.
him do it. I wanted to see
No,
him.
yes, I would
Yeah,
have
I
loved
wanted
to
to see
seen
the
him do
actor
it as
doing it.
well.
So
I still feel like our best Two Face is going to come from Batman the Animated Series, to the point that it's so incredibly well done that when we get the reveal of Two Face and he's in the hospital ward and he turns and the lightning strikes and you see his face for the first time fully, his fiance, whose name is Grace, collapses, and then Two-Face actually says goodbye, Grace. And there's so much going on when he says goodbye, Grace. It's more than just he's saying goodbye to her. He's saying goodbye to a lot of things. Yeah, I tell you, that's still the best Two-Face is going to be from Batman the Animated Series.
gotcha. And then Mott's did mention we were talking about Batgirl. There is a new Batgirl movie coming out, and in fact, my understanding is we've covered it. It's supposed to be HBO Max exclusive, and Keaton's supposed to be in it. As you were mentioning, Keaton is going to be kind of taking over the mantle in a lot of ways. I think for the DCEU, as far as the mantle of Batman. So,
yeah, my understanding is he's going to basically function like Nick Fury in the Marvel movies, and he's going to be assembling our new Justice League. That's my understanding. Which I'm all for that. I love Keaton's Batman.
And I will agree with Hollywood as far as Alicia Silverstone. I had quite a crush on her after Clueless, and yeah, she did look good in the suit, and that is worth something. Absolutely, Hollywood. I totally agree with you on that.
No, yeah, I mean, I liked there was Clueless, and then there was that there's another movie she was in. I mean, she was incredible, but the just with the issue with her version of Batgirl has not. I mean, she looked great in the part. It had nothing to do with that. It's just the fact that they changed it so much. It's just not Barbara Gordon. It's just not I mean, it's not as much of a disservice as what they did to Bane. What they did to Bane is a travesty, like a travesty on so many levels. But yeah, unfortunately, as much as I love Batgirl and she looked good in the suit, I mean, I just not a big fan of Batman and Robin. Sorry, Hollywood.
I gotcha. And Gap does say the Batman animated series rocks. So we've got some consensus here. We're all huge Batman animated series fans. Like I said, I think for us, those really are the definitive versions of the characters. So totally with you on that. And then Hollywood backs me up and says Keaton's Batman was good. I don't like his Bruce Wayne though. So
I liked his at times. I liked this at times overly do-gooding Bruce Wayne. Is it the best portrayal of Bruce Wayne? No, but I still like it. I thought it fit his version of Batman.
All right. Well, I think we should move on to the Obi-Wan trailer. We've had quite a robust discussion. Thanks, guys. We appreciate that. A lot of people commenting, but I do think we should move on to the Obi-Wan trailer. You good with that, Dave?
Yes. Let's move on to Obi-Wan Kenobi.
All right, folks. So I'm sure there's people that have some real opinions about this, good and bad, and perhaps everywhere in between and all over the place. Because I've seen a lot of comments from other streamers out there, and it's already divisive. It's already stuff is coming out like fast and furious. Some people are like, "Oh, this is going to be the best thing ever," and other people are like, "This is already trash." And of course, it's just a trailer. So let's get into it. So. Just for background, folks, we don't show the actual trailers because if we do, we get flagged, even though we're not even monetized. So I do screen captures. Sorry, that's the best I can do. Because every time we actually show a trailer, we get flagged and we get all sorts of problems. So this is one of the first images from the trailer with Obi-Wan on this sort of creature as he's walking into, some town on Tatooine. I don't know if there's a whole lot to say about it, Dave. Did you find anything particular interesting about this as he's just sort of, riding around on this thing and going into this little town?
No, it's all pretty. It's pretty. No, I don't think there's any great revelation. I did think that this was interesting though because this reminded me of what was it from Solo? There was the crime lord dude or whatever, and he had his little like restaurant bar or whatever. I felt like this was reminiscent of that, and this made me think that maybe we are going to get into some of the things I think that they were trying to hint at in Solo because you'll have to have seen Solo. I don't want to give that spoiler away, but I do feel like that we're going to see some of that criminal underworld type stuff coming out in this, and I think it might link back to elements from Solo.
That's interesting. So what I'm kind of hoping is actually that this is like kind of out of sequence, because and I'll get to it more in the trailer as far as some of my thoughts and some of my concerns, but I'm kind of hoping that this is out of sequence, as they do in trailers all the time, and that this actually happens a little bit later in the series where he goes into town for reasons that we don't know yet. But from the trailer we know that something's going on that's causing him to look into things or something like that. So we do have this image, of course, of the farm of the with Luke. Of course, we get our first image here of Luke himself, which obviously I think is a callback to Annie, right? He's kind of sitting there pretending like he's a pod racer or something like that, right?
Definitely, definitely.
That's what everybody is saying. And some people like that, some people don't. So kind of interesting, but that's what we got going there. So um the music, I that's why I kept this, just because yes, the music did kind of give me, that definite nostalgia, that swell, from that sort of that classic theme from the Phantom Menace. Um, that was cool. I thought that was cool. I did appreciate it. I've always thought that piece of music is incredible, and actually one of the best things in Star Wars as far as music, and that's really saying something. So
And now we do actually have a comment in the Rogues Gallery that actually goes with that, Eric, if you don't mind me saying. Asia is here in the Rogues Gallery, and she says, Duel of the Fates begins to play. And then she says, we got Inquisitors. I'm excited about that. But yeah,
yeah,
that music is incredible. So
that's why I kept that little slide, even though we can't do the music, unfortunately, which it is what it is. So, but we can't do the music, but I did want to include that
oh yeah.
in our little review here. I definitely did feel that. It's an awesome piece of music. We have this little line that I thought was interesting. It does kind of make me wonder about the whole what we're going to see next, because he even says it. It's like, stay hidden. In my mind, that's the thing, is Obi-Wan, right here, he's basically just looking at Luke from afar, making sure he's okay. That's his job. We have to remember that Obi-Wan has a job. Like, he's not just out there or whatever. He's there to protect Luke, plain and simple, and make sure that nothing happens to him. And he's got to stay low key, right? That's the idea. And that's what we see in the original Star Wars, is the idea that he's been hiding out. He's low key. So as we progress, this is where I'm starting to have some concerns and issues, because they even say it right here. And that's why I use the screen capture. Got to stay hidden. I mean, that's his mission. His mission is not to be out there saving the world. And this is also interesting. So we have the Grand Inquisitor, right? So this is a character from Rebels, and this is a pattern, right, that we see in the Disney shows right now, is they are heavily using a lot of the characters from the animated shows, whether it be Clone Wars
And
or Rebels.
and I want to call this out, if you'll permit me, Eric, here just real quick. Um, uh, so Ralph McQuarrie, who was a concept artist who worked on Star Wars, the great Ralph McQuarrie, also did concept art actually for Battlestar Galactica. He did concept art for Buck Rogers, and he just has really classic, definitive designs of spaceships and vehicles and stuff that we keep seeing get brought back up. And I got to tell you right now, when I saw this ship, all I could think about was the Starfighter from Buck Rogers in the 25th century, which the early paintings and
Huh.
design work for that was done by Ralph McQuarrie.
That's funny. That's because I was sitting there like, what is this? But yeah, I can see that. I can see that, Dave, because I was a big fan of that as well. So, because actually, when I saw this, I was like, what is that? And I'm guessing it's actually probably something from the animated series, one of them, because I'm not a huge Rebels or Clone Wars guy. I know enough to get myself in trouble, and that's about it. I did think this was interesting because I am familiar with this character. So we've got the Inquisitor. There are people that do not like the way he looks, and I'm talking about people who are fans of the cartoon of Rebels. But what I liked was he is explaining his way of catching Jedi, which is basically that Jedi are good people and they're going to stand up and they're going to help if they can, right? And that's sort of their fatal flaw, is basically what he's saying in this sequence. It's kind of interesting to me because I wonder who this person is he's talking to. It's hard to tell where he is, but he easily could be on Tatooine. But we're not sure. I mean, obviously, we do see this fighter go into like the base. So they kind of imply in the trailer they're at their base of operations, but this doesn't look like that. This looks like they're in a bar or something like that. And he's sort of explaining how he catches Jedi, because that's what the Inquisitors do, right? That's their job, is to go after Jedi. The ones that escaped Order 66. So let's see what we got next. Here, this definitely does look. It's like the base, their base of operations. We can see multiple Inquisitors. They've got some stormtroopers guarding. Definitely, I think a neat look, interesting look, and we can kind of see that the one of the Inquisitors seems to be reporting to the other two, about what's going on. We got this is part of that explanation of the Inquisitor where he talks about the compassion of the Jedi. It looks here like someone's been hanged. This does look like it's Tatooine. Obviously, somebody was hanged by the Empire. And then we kind of have this Jedi cannot help what they are. That's again part of this speech that the Inquisitor is talking about, basically trying to explain how he gets Jedi. And this is also interesting sequence here because obviously Obi-Wan's traveling somewhere. And that's why I was kind of hoping and thinking that initial image was out of sequence, that basically something has happened and now he's decided he needs to kind of leave Luke, or he needs to go into town and deal with something. That's kind of what I'm getting from the trailer and what's going on. And so he's traveling because obviously, remember, we know from the original Star Wars that Obi-Wan is a hermit. And actually, it's not Obi-Wan, it's Ben, right? It's Ben Kenobi. So, which I think would have been interesting that they call it Obi-Wan Kenobi, but this is supposed to be Ben Kenobi. This is supposed to be his years in exile and all that kind of stuff, but I digress. Obviously, it looks here like he's traveling somewhere. In fact, you can see the wider shot, and it's like some sort of a train or something like that. We have this image of this Inquisitor here, which I'm not familiar enough with Rebels. Do you know, Dave, that this character was in Rebels, or this is a new character?
I just have seen clips and segments from Rebels. I did not watch all of Rebels. I watched much more of the Clone Wars, so I'm not really familiar with this character at all.
So if anybody in the Rogues Gallery knows, let us know, because I am not sure. I know people have been talking about this character online, so I'm thinking it's a new character. That's what I'm thinking. And here we have another angle of her, and she is staring down Uncle Owen, of all things. Now, I think this is related to that hanging scene. Like it's one of those town square type moments, and Uncle Owen happens to be there. I don't know what I think about this, because the thing is, remember, Uncle Owen is all about not getting involved. And the other thing about Tatooine in general is that you get the sense that the Imperial presence there is not a totally sort of normal thing. Like, that it's minimal. At least that's the impression that I got watching the original Star Wars movie. So this is kind of interesting to have this Inquisitor apparently hanging somebody like in the middle of the town square kind of a thing. And then this idea of Uncle Owen kind of possibly confronting her. which I think is weird. I don't think that makes sense with his character. That's just, to me, it's a little strange. But that's what I'm seeing here.
Or this could be the moment, Eric, where he learns that lesson, and that's why he doesn't think it's a good idea to get involved.
That's a good angle, Dave. That's a good angle. That would be interesting if they did kind of give you that impression of this is why he doesn't want to get involved. Something like that. Yeah, I could see that. This is still the Inquisitor's been talking, because these scenes go fast. Again, he's still talking about the Jedi. They can't help helping somebody. You can see this image of, again, it looks like Obi-Wan in more of a city area. Could be Tatooine. Some people are speculating that some of these images could be Coruscant. I don't know how I feel about that, if that's the case, but it looks to me like it's still probably Tatooine. You've got people in robes and things like that. So again, in my mind, he's going to the city because something has happened and he feels he needs to deal with it. That's what I'm thinking. Whatever it is, I don't know. Maybe Luke's in trouble. Could be that. It could be that simple, and that would actually make tons and tons of sense. But for some reason, he is exposing himself, which I think is kind of interesting and also weird that he would be exposing himself at all. He's supposed to be a weird hermit after all. This is another image that looks like it could be, possibly like a town square or something like that. I think some people have speculated, could this be Coruscant? I don't know. We see another Inquisitor here. I believe she is one of the ones from Rebels. Sort of just a random image here. Again, the Inquisitor's still talking about this idea of how they get the Jedi. He said the Jedi code is like an itch. There's this sort of random Imperial officer. So I'm curious if that's an established character or if that's just a new character that they have. I think it's interesting that it's a female Imperial officer, because obviously in the classic era, we never saw any female officers in the original films for the Empire. I thought this was interesting. This is some sort of a random droid. There seems to be an implication the way that this is, presented, that this droid might have some sort of connection to Obi-Wan, but I'm not sure. Obviously, the droid is being confronted by a stormtrooper. I did notice there's an image where it shows something in his hand, and I was going to try to use that screen capture, but when I did it, it didn't look like anything. I couldn't discern anything. So, but it does look like there's some sort of confrontation going on here between the droid and the stormtrooper. This is the spinning when the Inquisitor is sort of spinning his lightsaber in front of this guy, which I wonder who that guy is. I don't think this is Obi-Wan, obviously, or anything like that, but it would be interesting if they're going to be showing some of these Jedi actually being hunted down. That would be interesting. That would be really interesting in my mind if they actually did that. I don't know if they are, but I think it would be really interesting if they did.
I think honestly, Eric, that's going to be one of the plots of the show. I think is we are going to see the Inquisitors and Vader hunting down what remains of the Jedi, because that's something that the fans were really excited to see that we really didn't see. I mean, Order 66 pretty much wiped out the majority of them, and I wonder if that's what we're going to get to see in Obi-Wan. I have this weird sneaking suspicion, because a lot of fans have been talking about the fact that Mace Windu could have survived his confrontation with Palpatine, even though I don't see how that's possible. But I know some people have wanted to see Sam Jackson's Mace Windu somehow come back. So I don't know. It's interesting, but
let's be honest. If Darth Maul could come back, anybody can come back. I mean,
right?
That's where we're at. So, however you feel about that, if Darth Maul can come back, anybody can come back at this point. So who knows?
Right.
But yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun to see these remaining Jedi trying to deal with the Empire, trying to deal with these Inquisitors, and ultimately deal, of course, with Vader. I mean, that's really what I want to see. I don't really care that much about the Inquisitors, I'll be honest with you, just because I'm not a huge Rebels guy. But seeing them deal with Vader, if anybody knows, there's actually an awesome scene in Rebels about that, and I'll just leave it there because you have to see the scene. It's pretty awesome. how normal Jedi react to Vader. I tried to get a good screenshot of this ship because I thought it might be relevant and I couldn't get one. So I don't know if there's any speculation out there, but I just thought I'd throw that in there because I was trying to get a good screen capture of this ship just to see if it was something I might recognize, and it goes by way too fast. I couldn't get a good screenshot. This is another one of the Inquisitors. Now this definitely looks like this is Coruscant to me. I mean, it could be, I guess, a more populated era in Tatooine, but this definitely looks like Coruscant. I mean, you look at the actual street and everything like that. It could be a different planet, but definitely looks like it's not like a backwater planet like Tatooine. And I know that there are people, especially Rebels folks, that know who this guy is because he is one of the Inquisitors, I guess, in Rebels. So, and obviously it looks here like he's leading a column of stormtroopers. So you would guess he's going to get himself a Jedi. He's going to go capture a Jedi or something like that. And then we got this little confrontation scene, which the way things are shot, it's kind of implying that may be Obi-Wan. We're going to get there. You're going to be like, well, wait a second. He has a blaster, not a lightsaber. So there is this interesting confrontation going on here.
Just to throw this out there, I have this weird sneaking suspicion because I feel like this is going to nod to events in Solo, and I would not be surprised if we see Han Solo and Obi-Wan in some small capacity.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I hadn't heard that one. I'm still not quite sure what the era is. I mean, Luke, obviously, in the image that we see, he looks to me like he's maybe about 10. So it's like the halfway point. That's what I'm guessing, just based on what Luke looks like here. But he could be, to me, he looks like he could be even younger, especially the way that he's playing. He's playing much like a young child, not so much as like a preteen or something like that. So I'll just throw that out there. So I'm thinking we're at that midway point because obviously the first Star Wars is about 20 years after Revenge of the Sith, because Luke is 20 years old, 20 or 19, depending on which reference you use. So I'm guessing we're around the halfway point where he's about 10 years old. That's just my guess based on what the actor looks like there. So then we got another confrontation. This does look like this is Uncle Owen to me, that there's some sort of confrontation going on, which again, I'm kind of like, okay, what's that about? I thought Uncle Owen doesn't get involved, but Dave, I think you have a good perspective there where you say that, well, maybe this is why he doesn't want to get involved after getting his butt kicked by an Inquisitor. And then here we got the shot that's really interesting to me. A lot of people, I think, are like, what is this? It's clearly Obi-Wan in a firefight, and he's shooting a blaster. Very strange, considering we know Obi-Wan does not like blasters. He thinks of them as crude, So there is that line, and maybe this is going to be something. Maybe it'll end up being something humorous or something to kind of go with that. But it is weird to see Obi-Wan with a blaster. Very, very strange. And then for anybody wondering, we got the last part, which says this is a limited series, and it's starting May 25th. So if you're wondering when the show is coming out. Now, I did have one more image. The image that I think everybody wanted in the trailer, but we did not get. But apparently, Entertainment Weekly actually did do one of their first look exclusive. They had a lot of the pictures from the trailer in it. And this is our first image of Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader. So here you go. There it is. The first image of Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader. So they are saying that he's in the suit. And the thing that people are getting out of this is that it does look like he's coming out of like his regeneration chamber. So the thing is, obviously that provides a way for us to see Hayden's face, right? Without him having to take off, without him having to be running around with his helmet off, which would be the stupidest thing ever if they did something like that in my mind. So yeah, there you go. That's the first image of Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader in Obi-Wan. And again, that's a first look from the Entertainment Weekly magazine that wasn't in the trailer. And I think that is a little disappointing for folks that we didn't get to see Vader at least doing something, in the trailer. That's probably my biggest disappointment from it.
But I feel like they're saving that because that's going to be, they're saving the best for last, So that's what I think. And honestly, like I would not be surprised if we see Maul, as well in some capacity in this. And it's not just because of his rivalry with Obi-Wan. It's actually because of events in other Star Wars stories. So I wouldn't. There could be potentially a whole lot going on in Obi-Wan that connects the dots to a lot of different things. It's just a question of how they go about it and how well it works. Because this could be amazing or it could be disappointing. I'm excited for it because I love Obi-Wan and I really like Ewan McGregor's portrayal of Obi-Wan. So I'm really excited he's going to be back. And I think there's a lot of neat things because if the major through line of Obi-Wan is that the Jedi are being hunted down and the Inquisitors eventually make their way to Tatooine where they're looking for Obi-Wan because they found some breadcrumb or something. And then the Inquisitors and the Empire, Uncle Owen isn't happy with this and he decides to try and make some kind of stand. And that's why we learn why he's very dead set on don't mess with that old man and do not get involved. That would be really interesting because it would give that scene when he's talking to Luke about not getting involved, it would give it a whole new context. Because if you're like, oh hell yeah, I understand what he was telling him, don't get involved, So it could be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see.
Gap says, I'm very intrigued to watch this Obi-Wan series. He says maybe he has to leave Tatooine to go fight or take care of Darth Vader to protect Anakin. Just a thought. I hope not. If he fights Darth Vader for real, I'm going to be like screaming on this show. I'm telling you, I'm going to be screaming. That is just totally not canon. That totally does not make any sense. They confronted each other twice. That's it. There is no more. That's my biggest concern about this show. But I do understand. It would be interesting to see what the motivation would be if he's actually leaving, because it doesn't make any sense to me, no matter what it is, you know what I mean? No matter who it is, that he would leave Luke. The only thing that makes sense in my mind is Luke himself is somehow in danger. But I think it's pretty well established that Luke himself never left Tatooine. So it's certainly heavily implied he's never left Tatooine. But if it's something like that, then it makes sense to me. It's like, because that's his mission. That's what he's there for. Nothing else matters. He's just got to protect Luke. That's his only job. He's got one job. That's it. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see because what I could also see is them doing something like, oh, it's his best friend or something like that, and he has to go save them, even though like all the Jedi have been slaughtered anyway. But I got to go save this one guy. I don't think I'll like that if that's what happens, but we'll see.
I do have to call this out because I feel like Gap's got a point. Start screaming.
Start screaming. There you go.
I'm pretty sure we're going to see Obi-Wan stand off against Vader in this, Eric. I'm very sorry, but I think Gap's right. You might as well start screaming right now.
Yeah, then I'm going to start screaming right now because
I don't.
But the thing
how
is,
they get away from that.
The thing that I've actually heard is that it's going to be like a dream sequence or something like that. That's what they're going to do, or they're going to do. I hate to say this too, but are they going to go the Rilo route? And it's going to be like them fighting through the Force, something like that, something like that. So those are the two rumors that I've heard. Obviously, there's the third rumor, which is what you guys are talking about. But the other two rumors I've heard is it's either some sort of flashback, some sort of like a nightmare or dream, or they're actually like fighting through the Force like Raylo did, which I thought was stupid. So, Motz did address that character. He said Inquisitor Reva is a brand new character. So I assume, bring the image back up. You are talking about this character here. this other Inquisitor that seems to be a new character that they're introducing, the one that's confronting or looks to be confronting Uncle Owen. So new character is what Motz is saying there. Motz goes on. He says, "Here's some info I found. Reva, also known as the Third Sister, is a character who will appear in the upcoming Star Wars series Obi-Wan Kenobi. The Third Sister, also known as Reva, was a human female who was once a Jedi. During the reign of the Galactic Empire, she served as a member of the Inquisitors." That's a very weird concept to me, that you would keep any Jedi around even if they were an Inquisitor. I don't know what I think about that. It's an interesting concept, but I don't know if it doesn't seem consistent with the lore to me. So, but obviously that's what she is, I guess. If you're saying that's something you found out there, I don't know how I feel about that. That's really strange. What had you heard that before, Dave?
Well, no, because I haven't watched much of Rebels, but I was just going to mention, if she was a former Jedi, I would not be surprised that as soon as they're done with her, Vader just turns and kills her.
Yeah, that would make sense to me. There's a very cool comic book. It's like Star Wars Tales or something like that. And they did like a ton of them. And I have this particular one. It's such a good little story. Basically, it's like this Jedi is like trying to delay Vader. Like, he knows he can't stop him, but he's trying to delay him because they actually have a group of younglings that they managed to save, which interestingly enough could tie into, where Baby Yoda came from, but I digress. This was way before any of that, and it's not considered canon. But the way I remember the story is, so like this Jedi is trying to hold off these Imperials. He knows Vader's coming. He knows he can't take Vader down. All he cares about is the ship getting away with the younglings. And, kind of spoiler alert, this is an obscure comic book, but what ends up happening is there was never any chance. They had already infiltrated the ship. It blows up. Now the guy is like sitting there like with Vader, and basically Vader just intimidates the hell out of him, and the guy just kills himself. It is so dark. It is like so. You're like sitting there like, oh my gosh. You're like, when I read this, it's like, oh my gosh. And that's the kind of thing, is like, basically he kind of convinces the Jedi that what he did was useless. And he kind of does like convert to the dark side. But at the end of the day, Vader doesn't need him because there's only two Siths. So he's just like, okay, I'll just kill myself. You know what I mean? It is so dark. It is so good. It's just like, that's what the kind of stuff I want to see, is Vader just being completely ruthless and just beating the crap out of everybody. That's what I want to see. So, but I don't want to see him fight Obi-Wan. So
I do think we're going to get that, because it would fit with it would fit in the same way that when they showed us that scene in Rogue One, towards the end of Rogue One, and then all of a sudden you realize, well, those rebel soldiers were shaking in their boots, when they were cutting through the airlock or whatever. Like, no wonder they were shaking in their boots. So I definitely think we're going to get that, Eric. And like I said, I would not be surprised to see Vader turn on one of these Inquisitors, just because if they're a former Jedi and the goal is to kill all the Jedi, like if he feels like he doesn't need this person, he might just cut that person down and be super cold about it. So
yeah, I would dig it if that's ultimately what happened, but I don't know if they would do that. So we'll see. It's one of those we'll see. Mott says, does he take his helmet off? Eric loves when they take their helmet off. Actually, I'm fine with Vader taking his helmet off if he's like in that Bacta tank or something like that, like they did in Rogue One, because I actually thought that was really cool. If they have Vader's castle and they show him sitting there communing with the dark side as he's just watching all the lava of Mustafar, the place where he was burned and mangled and everything, and that's how he relaxes. I love that about Rogue One, that's the way that Vader relaxes, as he just sits there and just burns his hatred about what happened to him and what he's become. That's the view he has when he's relaxing, is the place where he was just torn apart. I love that. To me, that's Vader. That's how he relaxes. That's how he communes with the dark side. You know what I mean? Is that he just is hatred, you know what I mean? Of just sitting there thinking about that moment when he was defeated. And that's what gives him power, That's the dark side, man. That's what it does.
I love the insinuation that Vader loves lava lamps so much that he lives on a lava lamp planet.
There you go. Gap says, what about the scene in the trailer with Obi-Wan between the rocks and it looks like something sitting beside him? I guess I didn't catch that. I don't know if that's in one of the images that
No.
I showed or not.
It's
you see, you know what the scene he's talking about?
Yes, it's in the trailer, but it's not one of the screen caps that you've got. I almost said screen craps, but it is in the trailer, and I have no idea. I mean, I looked at it. I've watched the trailer twice, but I did not freeze frame a lot of stuff, just because I could tell that a lot of stuff was coming from Rebels. I was like, oh, I didn't watch Rebels, so I don't know. So I wasn't really worried about that stuff. I was mostly paying attention to the things I thought, oh, I think I might know what this is, or oh, that's interesting. So
yeah, that one I obviously didn't catch me at all. When I was even doing the screen captures, I didn't notice anything like that. So that one got past me, Gap. That one definitely got past me. Mott says third sister was in Rebels. So just to clarify, so it's not a new character. It's another one from one of the animated shows.
All right.
Gap says, I hope they're smart enough not to kill Uncle Owen in the series. That would definitely create some problems. I hope even I hope even the most casual fan would be like, okay, well, that was stupid. That doesn't make any sense considering he's in the first Star Wars movie. So yeah, I'm with you there, Gap. I hope they wouldn't be that stupid that they'll go, hey, let's just kill Uncle Owen. We'll just, But if they do that though, that just shows you what the real plan is. Anytime I see a recasting of one of the original characters, Ewan McGregor being the exception, because he was obviously recast for a prequel, and the original actor was dead. There was no way that you could do that. But like Solo, and even this now, where you see that we've got a new character playing Luke, I'm always afraid that Disney's ultimate plan, I said this is one of my concerns from the beginning about Solo, was that they were just going to take these new actors and redo the original trilogy in Disney's image. And I'm just, it just makes me cringe, the idea. And I do believe that there was some thought of doing that. I totally believe that. And so anytime I see, a new actor being cast as one of those classic characters, I get worried. Although it makes sense. It makes sense that they would have a young Luke in this. Obviously, again, I've said it. Obi-Wan's entire mission is to protect Luke. That is why he's there. So, who knows? Maybe they'll kill Uncle Owen, and then they will start their own new classic trilogy or new vintage trilogy, or however Disney markets things these days. Mott's also provided a link if anybody's interested to StarWarsFandom.com, so you can check out the character that we were referencing, the brother and the sister, which I have some vague knowledge about, again, because I was not a big Rebels guy. I've seen like a couple episodes, and I've seen a lot of highlights. Like I've gone on YouTube and watched some of the highlights, but I didn't watch the show like straight out. Cap does say, I will scream if one of the Inquisitors uses a Vespa. Yes, I think I will scream as well, Gap, if that's the case. If they're on one of the hover scooters, as I call them, yeah, that'll be a little too much for me. That would be a little too much for me. But I am curious if anybody else, if you have any thoughts about the trailer, thumbs up, thumbs down. If you're still waiting. I'll say for myself, I think I'm just still waiting. I don't think this is definitive for me either way. What about you, Dave?
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I think I hope it'll be good. I hope it'll be fun. I'm kind of dumbfounded because I'm looking at Gap's last comment and I'm like going, please don't let them do that. So Gap's last comment he's got over, he says I will scream if one of the Inquisitors uses a Vespa.
Yeah, I just said that.
Let's okay. Yeah, I don't, yeah, I am definitely not. Whoops, I'm just jumping around now by accident. I am definitely not a fan of the Vespa scooters. I hated those things in Boba Fett. I feel like they're, and then the street gang. I mean, the Vespa gang. I mean, they kind of grew on me towards the end, but I hated the Vespa stuff. It was
they
so
never
bad.
grew on me. I'll tell you that. I'm like, of all the characters, it's like, why can't you just kill these idiots off? You know, it's just like,
Well, when they were fighting the, well, this is a spoiler for Book of Boba Fett, but when they were fighting the Wookiee, we'll just leave it at that. I didn't have as much issue with them as when they were riding around in the streets. It was a little ridiculous when they were on the scooters in the streets. It's hard to, yeah, no, no, that was definitely not good. Yeah, nope. Easily the worst part of Book of Boba Fett for me was the weird Vespa street gang. Not a fan. And then Asia calls it out. I think probably the best. You mean the Shadowrun Rangers? Yes.
right.
Yes.
The Shadowrun Rangers. Yeah.
Shadowrun Rangers.
Well, Jane does say she's looking forward to Obi-Wan. I think a lot of people are. I do think that there are other people that are have concerns, but we shall see. I don't think there's enough in the trailer yet to make a judgment one way or the other. So we shall see.
I am looking forward to it. I'm hoping that it has fun, like kind of callbacks. You know, in the kind of in line with what they did with Rogue One. I think that could be a lot of fun if they're able to work in fun things like they did with Rogue One while still telling us a new story that's not sitting completely out of canon. You know, that just is kind of jarring. You know,
yeah.
I think it'll be really great, and I think a lot of old Star Wars fans and new Star Wars fans would hopefully enjoy it alike. But I could also see where already it's divisive. You know, because, you know, that original, you know, Darth Vader Obi-Wan confrontation and what they say is so important to canon. You know, what did he say? When I last saw you or left you or whatever, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. You know, like that's you know, that informs.
It's pretty definitive. It's pretty definitive. So
yeah, so I could see that. So.
All right. Well, we've got one segment left. We get to move on to that.
Oh yeah. Let's get on with this segment. This is where I get to do my get off of my lawn bit here.
So I do have an article here that I will share briefly. It's actually a pretty small article. It's pretty straightforward. So for folks that don't know, this is from IGN, and this is dated. When's it dated? Posted March 9th. So it was posted yesterday. Title reads, Warner Brothers shifts dates for Black Adam, The Flash, Aquaman 2, and Shazam 2. A seismic shift for DC's hottest upcoming movies. It says DC and Warner Brothers announced a slew of delays for multiple films today, including Aquaman 2, The Flash, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Black Adam, and more. Warner Brothers is moving around the dates for several of its biggest DC movies this year. Among the biggest changes are delays for both Aquaman 2 and The Flash into 2023. While Black Adam starring Dwayne Johnson has also been pushed back, it will still be released this year. Furthermore, the Shazam sequel has been pushed forward and will premiere in 2022 as well. So they got a list here of all the changes. If you want to check out the site, I'll keep them up there so you can take a look at what's being changed and where they're going. But I know from our prep and talking to Dave, you're not happy about this, Dave. So what are your thoughts about all these latest delays coming out of Warner Brothers?
Okay, so here's my thing. Just real simple, okay? Before I watched the Batman movies, I really liked the new Batman movie a lot. I got to see it again. Might be my favorite live action Batman movie. Might be. I got to see it again. I loved it. Before I watched that movie, they showed me this trailer for all the fun DC movies that are coming out in 2022. What did they show me in that trailer? They showed me the Michael Keaton Batman's coming back. Excited. They showed me some stuff for Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam movie, it's funny how everybody keeps saying that. It's just Black Adam. I know Dwayne Rock Johnson's in it, but Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam movie. Okay, very excited. What did they show us in that? They showed me, we'll start my least favorite, Atom Smasher, which I say tells me they're going to pull from Black Rain, one of the best JSA stories in my opinion. Then what else they showed me? They showed me Hawkman. Excited for Hawkman. Then they showed me Dr. Fate. So excited about Dr. Fate. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this. They show me some more fun stuff. They show me some stuff from Aquaman. Okay, I'll go see Aquaman. I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm ready for DC to have their year. 2022 is going to be the year of DC. I'm so excited. I watched the Batman movie. So excited. So get out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the Batman movie was so good. I'm so ready to go see all these movies. I'm ready for Michael Keaton to come back as Batman. Hell yeah, let's get this going. I'm excited. And then they go, no, we're not going to do that. The Black Adam movie is around the corner. You're going to have to wait. What do you mean I have to wait? What do you mean you're going to make me wait? And they're like, oh, yeah, that Flash movie with that Batman guy that you guys are so excited about, that everyone can't stop talking about, that's next year. What do you mean next year? Next year? Are you kidding me? Next year. And then I love that they just moved Shazam up. Of course you have to move Shazam up. We hadn't even got Shazam 2 yet, and you've already got the Black Adam movie coming out. I think most DC fans understood that what the hell is going on with that, but I'm so excited for Black Adam because of all the fun things we're doing. I'm okay with it. But then I'm like, this just drives me nuts. It just drives me nuts. Why in the world did they release that trailer for us to get excited? Because this is going to be the year of DC. DC is going to rule the box office this year. They got all these exciting movies coming out. We got League of Super Pets. We got your funny talking animals. We got your guy that talks to the fish. We got your guy that runs fast. We're bringing back a lot of people's favorite Batman. We got a brand new Batman. He's very depressed, but we got a brand new, we got look at all these awesome things we're doing for you for DC. We got all these fun things. And then they go, wait, you're going to have to wait. You're going to have to wait. What do you mean we have to wait? It drives me berserk, Aaron. It drives me berserk. I thought we were done with this. I thought we were done with just for example, this is all here. Let me just put this out. Okay. This is not DC's fault. When in the hell is the Top Gun movie coming out? Okay. I'm just going to put that out there. When the hell is Top Gun Maverick coming out? Okay. Because that's the other thing that makes me mad about this. If they're moving these movies around, I am never going to get to see Top Gun Maverick. So I'm a little upset because I like the Batman movie so much. And I was so excited because I was like, oh yeah, let's get back into the DC universe. And now they're going, you're going to have to wait.
Yeah, it's so strange. It kind of reminds me in a way, like we were talking about, the issues with the next Star Trek movie, and this sort of weird thing that happened where they announced, yeah, we're going to do Star Trek 4 with the same cast from the other movies. And then apparently nobody in the cast had been notified. And basically the studio now has lost all their leverage when it comes to negotiating with these actors because some idiot in the marketing department or something, decided to make this announcement prematurely is what it comes down to, right? It's one of those things that really makes you scratch your head. And you feel like, I think similarly here, it's like they're doing all this marketing, all this buildup, like you're saying. It's like, this is going to be it. This is the year of DC. And somebody wasn't talking to the person that's actually in charge of releasing this stuff, and decided to make all these announcements without realizing what's actually going on, at the company and when they're actually going to release that stuff. And I'm sitting there scratching in my head about like, why are they delaying all these movies? It doesn't make any sense to me. We're beyond that at this point, and it's been proven. And I even have some numbers to show you about that. So, because I decided to go and check Box Office Mojo, so because I want to make my point here. So this is worldwide box office receipts so far for just for 2022. Okay, this is just 2022, and we're talking worldwide. Okay, now number one is a Chinese film. It's actually a sequel to their film from last year, which is about the Korean War. I'm not going to get into that, but look what's number two already there, Dave. And this is just 2020, just 2022. Look what's number two. Do you see what's number two, Dave?
It's the Batman.
It's the good. Batman. It's been out how long?
Like what, a week and a half?
A week. And it's already approaching 300 million worldwide, 164 domestic. Okay. Now I want to show you something else, which is the totals from last year, from 2021. Do you happen to see who's number one there, Dave?
Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yep. Over $1 billion. It actually beat out the Chinese movie, which, by the way, is significant because Spider-Man was not released in China. That's actually something that they were really concerned about, is that China is no longer supporting Hollywood right now. So Spider-Man was never released there. Now, number two is that Chinese movie. Okay, but still, I mean, Spider-Man No Way Home is way above it. I mean, blew it out of the water. Domestic alone is 787 million just domestic alone. Over $1 billion, almost $2 billion, 1.8 billion worldwide for Spider-Man No Way Home without China, folks. So I'm sitting here just looking at these numbers and I'm like, what is the justification at this point? To me, what it seems like more than anything else is there's a lot of mediocre movies that have been coming out that haven't been doing that well. But the big hits can still be big hits. And the numbers right there show you that.
Well, and it's just, I think the thing that's just driving me nuts is what they did with the marketing. That's what bothers me the most. I don't mind if they feel like they need to move them things around on the release schedule. I mean, the motion picture companies do that from time to time. It's gotten really extreme in our new era right now. But the thing that drives me the most berserk is just they just showed me a trailer and put it up on the big screen and said 2022. You're gonna get to see these movies. We're giving you Aquaman 2, right? That's probably my least anticipated, but I like the first Aquaman movie. I own it, so I'm looking forward to Aquaman 2. They're like, hey, we're gonna show you Aquaman 2. Okay, cool. All right. And then it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna have Black Adam. Black Adam's getting the movie. We got what else? Hey, look, Dr. Fate's in the movie. Hawkman's in the movie. Adam Smasher. Most people don't know who the hell that is. Adam Smasher's even in the movie. We're gonna put him in our 2022 trailer to get you excited to see Adam Smasher, even though most of you don't even know who the hell he is. He's that big giant guy running down the street. That's Adam Smasher. Okay, all right. Most people don't even know who the Atom is except for the guy that watched Arrow. But anyhow, they're like, look, Adam Smasher. I'm like, okay, all right, you got me. I'm excited. And they go, oh, wait, we're going to give you a Flash movie. Your favorite Batman's coming back. I'm like, oh, yeah, hell yeah, my favorite Batman's coming back. I'm excited. I'm so excited. We got talking animals. Okay, I'm down with the talking animals. Let's watch the cute talking animal movie. I like dogs. Okay, that sounds good. This is a cat in it. Okay, all right, I'm good. Talking animals. You got me. 2022. You're at DC. Watch the Batman movie. I'm so excited. Like, I'm just like, oh yeah, hell yeah. This is awesome. This is exciting. They go, wait. We've decided that we're not going to do that. We're going to make you wait. I'm like, okay, what are you going to make me wait for? Well, unfortunately, the return of your favorite Batman, it's going to be sometime next year. What do you mean sometime next year? I know this damn movie is probably to be finished by now. What do you mean sometime next year? And that's the thing that drives me nuts. It's like I'm so excited for Keaton to come back as Batman. There's all these stupid set photos coming from this Batgirl thing that they're making, and I'm just like, I'm like, oh hell yeah, let's get and you're gonna make me wait another year, really, another year, and then they're like, oh, and we're gonna make you wait for Hawkman and Dr. Fate. What do you mean you're gonna make me wait for Dr. Fate and Hawkman? It's like, yeah, we're gonna make you. It's not gonna be as bad, but it was right around the corner, and now we're thinking more like Halloween. Like Halloween? Really? Is the world still going to be around by then? Why are you doing this? It's like, can't we just go ahead and
excellent question. It's an excellent question.
Seriously, that's what I'm thinking about. And then in the back of my head, I'm going, oh my God, this means I'm never going to get to see Top Gun. I'm never going to get to see Top Gun, because if anybody's paying any attention, then the people who made Top Gun are going to be like, uh-oh, DC's pushing everything back. What should we do? Well, let's push Top Gun back again, baby, because we can't lose any money on it. I swear by the time Top Gun comes out, no one's even going to remember it. It's just going to come out. No one's even going to go see it. And they'll be like, did that Top Gun movie ever came out? It's like, yeah, I think so. It's on, I don't know. It's on Netflix or some shit. I don't know. I didn't see it. I forgot about it. I forgot they made a Top Gun movie.
Well, Gap says, ran on, Dave. He says, I'm with you on this.
It just drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. We're going to see the talking animal movie, the talking superhero animal movie, which I love animals. I love dogs. Okay. I love cats. I'm excited. Asia says we are getting all we're getting is freaking super pets. Exactly. That's my point. We will see the cutesy talking superpowered animals before Top Gun because of this.
Well, Mott's does say that Top Gun is coming out May 27th.
Yeah. Tell me another one, David. I'm sorry. How many release dates have we had for Top Gun so far? How many? Can we count them?
He says that's according to his son who works at Harkins. So
I'm sure as it sits right now, that's when it was going to come out. But I'm pretty sure, too, there's an executive going, somebody at Warner Brothers must know something we don't know. We better push Top Gun back again. I don't feel like it's a good time to release Top Gun. Whatever. By the time Top Gun comes out, I'm going to have forgotten about it. Yeah. This is like New Mutants. All over again, Eric. The new Mutants is Top Gun. Top Gun is the new Mutants.
Well, Gap speculates maybe they're doing some reshoots, some retooling.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'm kind of at that point too. It's like, you have to realize, and I think most directors will tell you this, okay? If they had their way, I mean, they would never stop shooting, okay? Because directors are like that.
That's true. That's totally true.
Look at what Lucas did, whether you like him or hate him, look what he did with the special editions. It's all about that. And, directors will talk about that. It's like, if you let them, I mean, they'll never stop. So, at some point you got to make the decision and just say, hey, the movie's done and we're going to release it, so. But if you let a director just shoot forever, they will. They absolutely will.
And along these lines, it reminds me of, I forget who it was who said it because it's true. What a director in an interview said that you never really finish a movie; they're just abandoned.
Right.
That's how they feel about it. They will never stop shooting.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that quote before, and it's absolutely true. It's 100% true.
Oh my gosh! There's 2 comments in the Rogues Gallery I have to get to because I can't let this slip. Gap says Batgirl has been pushed off to 2024. Just kidding. I don't think you're kidding, Gap. I think you know something, and they're gonna tell us because I wouldn't be surprised. Because you can't have the Keaton Batman show up in the Batgirl movie before he shows up in the Flash movie. It makes no sense. And then Hollywood's like, you better call Picard. That's not funny, Hollywood, because for those people who want to, they will have seen Picard before Top Gun and before Keaton's return as Batman. They'll even see that before they see the Talking Animal movie.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
That's not right. Something is wrong with the world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
And I like
Asia talks about the film that I've been working on. She says Staycation will come out first. Ha ha ha. At this point, I hope so. I hope so. Better. So at this point, there's not much excuse for it, is there? So I don't know. I don't know what else to say to that. But yeah, but Jane says it like, like artists, you're never done. You just have to make yourself stop,
Oh no, I know when I'm done, Mom. I know when I'm done. I like to be done with things quickly. I have literally quit a project in a fervor, screaming at someone on the phone in a parking lot because they seemed to imply that we were never going to be finished with a project. And I said, F you, the hell, we're not going to be done with a project. So not every artist is like that. When I finish a project, I'm good. I might like to revisit it in a follow-up or a sequel or a number 2. That sounds like fun. But go back and retool something for the hell of it? Forget that. Nope. Not interested. No, thank you.
Well, Hollywood brings up the musician's perspective, and I can relate to it from my time when I was in a band. He says, yep, let's record another track. I don't like that one. And you know what really helps that is when you're funding it yourself. Then you can't do that anymore. Then you got to make a decision. One of the stories I remember that was so interesting is like I heard Elvis used to work like this, where they would do like 100 takes of a song, and then he would be like, "Oh, I like take 37." You know what I mean? Like it would be just like something random like that. It's like, okay, well, why didn't we stop 5 tracks ago then? So it's the same thing. It's the same kind of thing. It's just, it's people are like that, artistic people, creative people are like that. It's just the way it is. So
I don't have one anymore, but the thing that used to make sure that I completed projects was called a mortgage.
There you go.
I mean, literally that was, I remember when Scott was still with us, I remember having a conversation with Scott because I felt like we were taking too long on a project, and he would be advocating for why we needed to redo this or redo that. And I'd be like, Scott, I have a mortgage. We need to be done. Because, in the comic book world, when you're working professionally, you're paid essentially by the piece. You are basically paid by the number of pages that you complete. The more pages, the more covers, the more assignments you can complete, then the better you're doing. The less pages, the less covers, the less projects you complete over the course of a month, the less money you're making.
Yeah.
So I was very big on, Scott, we need to get this done because I would like to pay my mortgage.
There you go.
It's still a good Batman book. It's still a fun superhero book. They're not bad. It's just at the same point, there's no reason to redraw this page for the 3rd time. There's no reason. It's not really an improvement. We're just doing it now for fun. We're just
but that brings up a point too, which is deadlines. It's about deadlines. And what you see in Hollywood so often is they don't have that. And it results in disasters where literally they run out of money. Think of Masters of the Universe, great example. Ran out of money. Yeah. To do the fight sequence at the end. They just freaking ran out of money. They literally were shut down, That's why deadlines are important, Scheduling is important, that kind of stuff. But a lot of these guys, I'm telling you, a lot of these guys at the big studios in Hollywood, they are pampered to death, and they will just keep going and keep going. So I could see the retooling, reshooting thing, but I personally think this is more of a marketing problem and a problem within Warner Brothers where the right hand, is not talking to the left hand, like they're not in sync with each other. So that's kind of my take on it.
And it sometimes it deprives you of something interesting. Like in the case of Masters Universe, when Bill Stout designed the interior of Castle Grayskull, if you notice, there's all these levels because Bill Stout he said in interviews, but I actually had the opportunity to talk to him about it, and he said as much to me, is that when they designed the interior of Castle Grayskull, he was thinking of a great Errol Flynn like sword fight, like that they would be able to take advantage of all the different levels and do all this amazing stuff for the big final battle between He-Man and Skeletor, you know. And then we didn't get that because they ran out of the movie. They were scrambling just to finish the movie. We're kind of lucky that they managed to get it under the wire so the movie could even get released. So
yeah, it was like a impromptu workaround, basically. So yeah, it happens. It happens, folks. Absolutely, 100%.
There you go. All right. Do you have any other comments from Rogues Guy you want to get to there, Eric?
Hollywood would just clarifying with the music thing. He says, personally, the way he works, he says, I do 3 and pick the best one. That's a good way of doing it. Asia mentions that Prince was that way in regards to what I was talking about Elvis and the 100 takes. He said he did a bazillion takes. One person that doesn't do a lot of takes, has a really good reputation for this, is Clint Eastwood. I remember going to an actor's workshop, and there was an actor there that actually had worked with Clint Eastwood. And he talked about how Clint Eastwood records the rehearsals, which, not all directors actually record the rehearsals. And he said, literally, they did a rehearsal where he was like, print, done, move on. And he was really frustrated because he's like, I can do better, because he's the actor. Clint's like, right, we're moving on. You know what I mean? Next. He has a reputation of actually being under budget all the time and also ahead of the curve. That's why they keep letting him make movies, because like he has that reputation in Hollywood that he will just be first take, we're one and done, and we're moving on. Like I said, the even bigger thing of recording the rehearsals, and he'll just use that because that's just the way he is, So there are exceptions to the rule, you know what I mean? But a lot of people they're not like that. So
no,
I've been on set, you know what I mean? And I'll tell you, so sometimes you're just sitting there like, really? That one wasn't okay? Really? What was wrong with that one? Okay. You're seeing something I'm not, I guess. So it is what it is. So it is what it is.
Very cool. Very cool. Do we have anything else we want to cover? Or do we think we're good? Any other comments of Rogues Gallery that we want to hit? Or
Hollywood was just talking. He says those are the best when you don't tell the band you are recording. Red light sickness. So yeah, that is an interesting technique actually when it comes to music, is not telling the band that you're recording when you actually are. So I agree with that from my experience as well, Hollywood, because a lot of that has to do obviously with nerves. So that does help sometimes.
Very cool,
but I think we're pretty much on the 2-hour mark. So I think we're pretty much good to wrap it up.
All right. That sounds good. We'll go ahead and move to the outro. So I want to thank you for hopefully watching. Probably won't do an audio version of this show, but I want to thank you for watching this episode of the Retro Rogues Live. Again, my name is Dave Beatty. I've been one of your hosts. If you're curious to see what occupies a lot of my time, I'm going to steer you actually to davebeatty.com. That's actually my main website, www.davebeaty.com. You can see all kinds of artwork and stuff on there. You can see pages from DC comic books I've worked on. You can actually see some pages from the Occupants comic book I worked on even. There's sketch cards on there, all kinds of awesome fun stuff. Lots of cool things, as well as, again, the Retro Rogues fanzine. A lot of fun information in there. If you're looking forward to Marvel's Moon Knight, you'd like to learn more about Moon Knight, there's actually a fun little write-up in there all about Moon Knight with my top 10 favorite Moon Knight stories you need to be aware of before watching the Disney Plus show. A lot of other fun stuff in there. It is free for you to own. All you have to do is go to davebeatty.com, click on the Retro Rogues Live tab, go over there, download it, and enjoy. It is our gift to you. We want to thank you for watching the episode. But enough about that. I want to thank, as always, my great co-host, Mr. Eric Alexander, as always, providing his unique point of view and perspective on all the fun things that we talk about here on the show. Eric, please tell the folks hopefully watching at home whether they can learn more about you on the interwebs.
Well, I am most active on Twitter. You can find me there at BassGod14. That is at BASSGOD14. My DMs are open, so you can send me a direct message on that. That's also the official YouTube. That's also the official Twitch. So if you use any of those platforms, more likely than not, if you comment, I'll be the one that's responding to you. And I do appreciate your comments. I actually wish you guys would comment more sometimes. But speaking of which, I do appreciate the folks that contributed tonight with your questions and with your insights. We really appreciate you being here. Gap says, great show. Thank you very much, Gap. We really appreciate that. Mott says, good night to everyone. Hollywood also says, good night to everyone. And Maria says, you guys rock as always. Another great show. Was making hot wings while you talked. Right on, Maria. And Jane says, bye, everyone. And we'll go ahead and leave her with the last word.